Hello everyone, Pinder Productions here, and today I'm going to be doing a video showing off all of the F1 2017 classic cars and giving some of my thoughts about each one of them. So let's start with the oldest car and make our way up to the newest car. So here we have the first car, which is the 1988 McLaren MP44 as driven by Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost. This car, it was Honda powered obviously, and it won 15 out of 16 races in that season, so it was really good, and it powered Senna to his first World Championship title. Second car on the list is another classic McLaren, this time the 1991 McLaren MP46. And this car was used obviously during the 1991 season and was driven once again by Ayrton Senna, and this time his teammate Gerhard Berger, if I pronounced that right, I hope so, and was considered to be the most competitive car ever at the time, taking 8 wins and 10 pole positions and scored 148 points. And this car really does look very good, and it's powered by a Honda V12. And here we have the first non-McLaren, the Williams FW14B from 1992. And this is the car that's powered Nigel Mansell to his first World Drivers' Championship, and also his teammate's car, Riccardo Patrese. And this car was the most dominant car of that season, as you would expect if it was for the champion, and they breaking 9 wins in the season. That was a record back then, so very iconic car here. And now we move on to the Ferrari F14T, which was the 1995 car. This was driven by Jean Alesi and Gerhard Berger. Alesi won the Canadian Grand Prix in this classic car, and so very famous for him. The team accumulated 73 points to take third in the Constructors. Notably, it is the last car to be powered by a V12 engine, so this is going to sound great, I hope. Here we have the second Williams, the 1996 FW18. This car was driven by Jacques Villeneuve and Damon Hill. Damon Hill won the Drivers' Championship that year with 8 wins to his teammates' 4 wins out of the 16 races that year, so 12 out of 16 for the team. Williams also won the Constructors, as well as Damon winning the Drivers, and this car looks really interesting, and I think it will be good fun to drive this car. And now we have the 1988 McLaren MP413, which was driven by Mika Häkkinen and David Coulthard, and again proved to be the dominant car of the season, with Häkkinen winning his first Drivers' Championship and McLaren securing their first Constructors' title since 1991. And this was, I believe, the first Constructors' title for McLaren, along with a Mercedes power unit, because in 1991 they had the Honda. So again, quite iconic for Mercedes power and in recent Formula 1. Now we move on to the Ferrari F2002, which was Schumacher's first car on this list. He won the championship with his teammate Rubens Barrichello, and it was one of the most successful Formula 1 cars of all time, winning 14 out of 17 races in 2002. And now we have the 2004 Ferrari F2004. This was again driven by Schumacher and Barrichello. Schumacher again won the Drivers' Championship. This was won by the team as well, the Constructors, and one of the most dominant cars in the history of F1, winning 15 out of 18 races and recording 12 pole positions. So a really successful car for Ferrari, and one I will be very excited to drive, being a Ferrari fan. And now we have the Renault R26 from 2006. This was driven by Fernando Alonso and Gennaro Fisichella. Scored 8 wins out of 18 races with 7 pole positions and 5 fastest laps, leading for more laps and winning more races than any other car in that year. And this powered Alonso to win his second Drivers' Championship and Renault to claim their second Constructors' Championship in succession. So a very strong car for Renault, and I remember some of the battles with this car and Michael Schumacher in those 2 years. Now we move on to Kimi Raikkonen's F2007, which is the last time Ferrari won a Constructors' or Drivers' Championship. I believe they only won the Drivers that year. Kimi Raikkonen won that. Car won 9 out of the 17 races that year, and it was won by about 1 point, I believe, in the end. So very close battle, this car, with Lewis Hamilton's McLaren Mercedes of that year. And speaking of Lewis Hamilton, here we have his 2008 championship winning car, the McLaren MP423. This car was driven by both him and Heikki Kovalainen in 2008, and is notable for being the car in which Hamilton won his first championship in that year, and it was done at the Brazilian Grand Prix by overtaking Timo Glock on the final lap, snatching the championship away from Felipe Massa. And now we have the final car in the lineup, the Red Bull Racing RB6 from 2010, the newest car, and this car was the one that won Sebastian Vettel's first Drivers' Championship and Red Bull's first Constructors, I believe. And also his teammate Mark Webber drove this car, and it was really successful. 15 pole positions, 6 fastest laps across the season in 2010, and so very successful car for Red Bull, and their first really successful car, I believe. So that has been all of the classic cars for the new F1 2017 game. Tell me which one is your favourite in the comments below. My favourite is probably one of the 2002 or 2004 Ferraris. So those are my favourites, and I want to thank you for watching. If you did enjoy, give a like, comment below, subscribe to the channel if you are new and want to see more F1 content, and I will see you next time. Bye.